Okay, so once again, thank you for attending our webinar today on data warehousing for JD Edwards. We'll go ahead and get started. My name is Adam Krieger. I'm the founder of the company, and I'll be walking through today's webinar. So the agenda, and we've done a few webinars over the last couple weeks, so you might see some overlap there, but kind of just review areas we have, preferred strategies, what are some of the data model complexities, which obviously reporting and BI as well as data warehousing can help address. Kind of review just some of the different BI implementation approaches, and then get into a data warehousing overview, and then our BI quick launch overview, and we'll do some live demonstration of some of the BI offerings on top of some data warehouse content. So if you have any questions, feel free to post those in the Q&A panel. At the end of the session, we'll tackle the questions as well as announce the winner of the gift card. So, like I said, if the GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar panel is taking up part of your screen, you should be able to minimize that to a small bar on the side by selecting. I think there's a white arrow and an orange box up in the upper corner of that. So, other than that, thanks again for attending our session, and hope you get something out of it. So preferred strategies, we've been around since 2002. We focus on JD Edwards as an application and reporting and BI specifically. So that's kind of our sweet spot. We've got kind of domain knowledge of the ERP of JD and a working knowledge and follow best practices in regards to getting data out of JD Edwards with market-leading BI reporting software. We're a little different than some other reporting or BI applications for JD Edwards in that we didn't build our own BI software per se. That's kind of where we just built in and spent the thousands of hours pre-building content for market-leading software like Business Objects, Microsoft, Oracle. And so that's kind of what we deliver is a jumpstart for that, as well as a full service organization around that. So some of the what we cover, as I mentioned, we have a jumpstart for Microsoft Power Pivot, for BI Publisher, Oracle BI Publisher, for Business Objects and Crystal Reports. All of these can be direct connect in real time against JD transaction data, or we also support a couple options regarding data warehousing and moving data offline, and we'll talk about that in this session today. So we have a jumpstart for data warehousing for JD Edwards as well. And as I mentioned, all the consulting and training and implementation services to get customers up to speed. So what makes JD Edwards reporting complex? There's thousands of tables in the system, and most of the tables have very cryptic names associated with them, like F0006 for the business unit master. The fields are also kind of cryptic. The GBOBJ for the object account. The dates are stored in a Julian format. The amounts and units are stored without decimals. And just to get some time-based calculations on a report, which is very typical of getting information on either month-to-date or quarter-to-date or year-to-date actuals and budgets, and those type of calculated measures are something that has to be done at some point in the reporting arena. So the data is not stored inside of JDE to facilitate those kind of parameterized calculated fields, and that's kind of what BI is for. And then just bringing in things like UDC descriptions, or sometimes data across different modules doesn't always match regarding what might be a numeric field in one table may be an alphanumeric in another with different lengths on the data types and whatnot. So these are just the way the data resides in JDE. When you're using third-party software to get at the data, you have to address these challenges, and that's kind of what we do for the market-leading software options that we presented. So let's look at the three different ways to kind of implement BI with JDE. So what we're looking at here first is a direct connect, second is an ODS or operational data store, and third is a data warehouse. So with a direct connect, and each of these has their own benefits and considerations, but so the biggest value of the direct connect is it's real time. So if someone posts an entry in the system and you refresh a report, you're going to get whatever's in the system. There isn't any latency. There isn't any, well, it was in a window when data was being updated. Whatever's in the system when you hit the refresh on the report is what's going to be returned. It's also the kind of the simplest of models from a back-end support. Once you get into an ODS and data warehouse, you're now engaging in a set of skills that may be uncommon for some customers, where it's just a more BI, ETL, technical skill set that's going to come into the fold. But for Direct Connect, why not? Well, some companies might be a policy that we're not allowed to report on our transaction system, or one of the requirements may be you've got multiple sources of data that you need to pull into certain reports, and it makes sense to consolidate that data on the data side and then report on it. So the next kind of tier, if you're going to say, okay, well, we don't want to do a Direct Connect solution, and Direct Connect's not for every organization. However, I think most companies that think, oh, we need BI, and they talk to some vendors, and the vendor says, well, you need our data warehouse, and so the customer thinks, well, I just need a data warehouse. But I think most people would find that actually a Direct Connect solution, if J.D. Edwards, if you look at your requirements and there aren't any kind of flags in that say, yeah, no, that is where the data warehouse would be the best benefit, Direct Connect may be the best way to go in some cases. So let's say that for whatever reason that's not the case. So what are the next options? So with an ODS, you're really just offloading data from the transaction system. So we're pulling data from, let's say, from JDE, putting it in a mirror replicated data set, and then you can run BI against that. And obviously one of the benefits to that, you're offloading reporting, so you're not impacting the transaction system when you're building reports or querying the data. Why not? Well, still, if you still have to consolidate data at a very granular level across different systems, you still need to kind of do some transformation of the data, and that's not really what a ODS is doing. That's really just kind of offloading the data. That can also be a staging area for a data warehouse as well. So there's kind of different options, and we support both these approaches. But we have two data warehouse builds: one that goes and populates an ODS and then a final target warehouse, or we can skip an ODS in some cases and go straight from the transaction system to a full data warehouse. So one of the benefits of the data warehouse is you're kind of going through a whole other level of effort at the transformation layer to restructure the data. And there's a few different approaches to data warehousing. Two most common is either Inman or Kimball, and whether or not you want to go with a Snowflake or a star schema, and we can kind of get into some of those details. But basically what we've done and we've designed our warehouse around is a more of a Kimball model star schema warehouse. So that's what we're going to be kind of presenting here today, and that's the direction that we've taken. But one of the things that we also do, which is a little unique, is we provide some flexibility. So for our customers, they can go all Direct Connect, they can go all ODS and go data warehouse, or we can even do a hybrid. So maybe it makes sense for some modules do an open PO report direct, but we're analyzing sales against multiple systems and bringing CRM data and ERP data and marketing data, and we need to pull it all together. And in that case, maybe a data warehouse is best for that. So it's that hybrid approach, which is a little bit unique. Most companies are kind of forcing you down one path or another. So let's look at this a little bit graphically. What does this mean? We've kind of broken it out into kind of three layers here. On the left, you'll see that data layer, and then the semantic layer in the middle, and then the front end. So pretty traditional BI nowadays has some type of central layer where you can relate data together and translate and put it into an intuitive format and do calculations so end users can drag and drop and build the reports and analyze dashboards and whatnot on the front end. But the data end, so in a Direct Connect solution, really you're pulling right from the Direct Connect, the data sources into that layer. we actually also introduced in a Direct Connect solution some views that reside on the database, and that's doing some of the legwork for the overall solution. But this is kind of from a high level, how Direct Connect works. You're connecting BI directly to transaction data. You're not copying the data. It's not any type of ODS or data warehouse. With an operational data store, as we mentioned, you're just replicating the data, and then you're going to throw the BI on top of that. And then the difference of the data warehouse is you're actually similar to an ODS in that you're now offloading the data, but you're also transforming it. So in the term ETL or extract, transform, and load is kind of that process, and there's tools. We'll talk a little bit more about what we do for our data warehousing, but ETL tools, ETL software that helps users build that type of process and transformation of data from a source transaction system to a final target warehouse. So our BI Quick Launch, what are we doing here? So one of the things, what's the benefit of going with the data warehouse is you kind of get this now. Instead of if you're going right at JDE data, you're going to get exposed to all the content, and we still simplify that with our BI Quick Launch for our Direct Connect solution, because for the different modules we're already defining those relationships and those models and those views and those templates. So we're giving that starting point with a lot of that headache already resolved, but we're actually still just connecting at the data. Where with the data warehouse, you're going in as part of that transformation process. You're kind of converting all that cryptic JD Edwards data into the star schema. So really, what is a star schema? There's kind of two types of tables that are in our target warehouse. Fact tables. And a fact table would be stores your measures and some dimensions in it. But if you think about like the general ledger would be a fact table, or the AP detail maybe a fact table. But then you've got your different dimensions. So you want to slice and dice the data by different address information or business unit or account. Those would be different dimension tables. And with the star schema, you really want one set of joins that can be integrated as equal joins to your dimension table. So that's kind of what you see here in this image. You've got a fact table in the middle with equal joins related to all those other dimension tables that are all being built and populated with the data warehouse. So that's kind of what we're delivering, an enterprise data warehouse that can support all your BI, but there may be other requirements that you're using for your warehouse. Might be just even consolidation of data as well. Star schema. Now conform dimensions, we'll talk a little bit more about that. But the key is, you want to actually, when you build that out, be able to reuse. Most common practice or best practice would be to be able to reuse those dimensions across the different modules that you may be in. So for instance, your business unit dimension or company dimension, may be the same exact dimension that's being built in your warehouse that's used across, all the other modules that you may be implementing. Surrogate keys is another. It's kind of creating a unique key for each that's numeric data type, so that way your relationships can be very efficient. And so when you have unknown data, then you're specifying that. So in essence, you can relate everything with an equal join, which will also improve performance. So this is all. Now, as far as ETL tools go, what we've chosen to do is standardize our ETL around Microsoft SSIS. We're currently using 2012, and with the Enterprise Edition of SSIS, you also get some CDC, change data capture functionality built in that allows you to, in essence, pull from the logs of Oracle and SQL Server and get that in a near real time. So that way, you might do full loads, once every several weeks or once every several months. Not very often, where you might be doing these, just tracking the changes and bringing those changes into your warehouse on a, several times a day or every 10 minutes or every 5 minutes. Get that refresh on a consistent basis throughout the day. So for customers that are using DB2 as their database, we actually introduce some third-party We've got relationships with third-party software to bring that near real-time data integration into the mix. But and then we do operational data storage, which is optional, and then auditing. So this is kind of just some of the nuts and bolts of our warehouse. But we also then, as part of our deliverable for our warehouse, provide the front-end BI content as well. So the conform dimensions, this is a list of kind of the different modules, as well as some of the conform dimensions across those modules. There's also more dimensions that we see here on the screen, but these are kind of the typical ones that go across the board. So you can kind of see, there are some of these where it's almost every module has a the business unit dimension, because pretty much it's one of the core, cost center, profit center within the business would be a business unit, and so that's kind of where that would be, across the board. So as far as, modules that we currently support, so these are all modules that are supported in our Direct Connect and ODS. As far as the full transformation to the Star Schema data warehouse, we currently have content data warehouse for general ledger, AP, AR, sales, inventory, procurement, enterprise asset management, job cost, and address book. So we're currently working on manufacturing, property management, and HR payroll. So those are the kind of open modules for our next deliverable for the warehouse, but all the other ones I just mentioned we currently have available. As far as the packages go, so again, within the ETL tool, and this is where you're not going to get a typical finance user that's building ETL. So this is where you really have to put on a more technical cap to be able to support this type. Now, obviously, it's easier when you're getting something packaged that's already built. You're not building it from scratch. You can take advantage of like preferred strategies, best practice, design, and leverage that. But in essence, we've got the packages, full loads, incremental loads. We're using SSIS. We kind of parameterize them so they're very not only portable and can be modified very easily, but you can also create new ones from our templates as well, as new packages need to be integrated. And then the auditing, so making sure everything's in sync from your source to your target is also something that we help you solidify. And then the front-end content. So again, from our standpoint, we currently support content for Microsoft BI and Power Pivot, Business Objects, Crystal Reports, and Oracle BI Publisher. So any of that content that we implement in Direct Connect or ODS also be available with the data warehouse as well. Okay. So I was going to go ahead and spend a couple minutes. I would recommend that if you wanted to see a technical deep dive of the warehouse and open up the ETL software and see packages run and explore that, we're not going to get into that level of technical detail on this webinar. Just going to show a couple examples. However, if you didn't attend our recent webinars for BI Publisher, Power Pivot, or Business Objects, I'd encourage you to view those recordings when they come online. We'll send out a note, an email when those links are available for you, because those are going to be much more in depth. We're just going to kind of just touch the surface in this session. So we'll go ahead and just show a couple things, and then we'll come back and wrap up with some questions, as well as announce the winner. So let's just start with a Power Pivot example. This is very similar. We actually had built this warehouse build pointing to the same sample data set that we had used in our Direct Connect demo of Power Pivot, which you'll see looks identical to what you're seeing here. Obviously, there's some slight differences going on in the back end, but from the front end, and that's one of the things, because we've already built all the BI content and the semantic layer, it's not like the data warehouse makes a dramatic change for our customers in regards to what the end users are capable of doing. However, how the data is being stored and where it's being stored and the structure is really, one of the bigger differences in the model. But so here we've got, these are slicers. So Power Pivot, if you hadn't seen the Power Pivot demo, it's a free plug into Excel. And once you, in 2013, it's part of Excel. You just have to go into Options and enable the add-in. When you enable the add-in, there'll be a Power Pivot menu option that's on your Excel. If you go to manage, that actually takes you to the back end, so you can go ahead and we can kind of get in there in a second. But let's just take a look here at the front end side of things. So first off, we've got some of the different, these are slicers. These are Excel functionality to kind of filter the pivot tables and charts. So if I look over here, we've got these different charts: total sales by product group, by customer, region, sales rep, channel. What if I wanted to look at just sales for 2009? If I go ahead and click on that slicer, it'll filter down that data just 2009, and you'll notice that some of these now, it gives me just the options where I have actually real data for that. So now if we go back here, we can see this chart's now being updated for 2009. We want to go in here and look at maybe just central region. We could do that. And now again, we're looking at just the sales for central region. Go to our trends. Maybe we've got sales, gross profit, and percent. And if we go back here and say, let's go ahead and open up 2008 as well. And maybe we'll get rid of our filter here on central and go back. And now we can kind of see some sales trends there as well. So this is, again, to refresh this data, we just go here to data and choose refresh. It actually will go back and refresh that data from the warehouse. So these are all kind of, whatever latency there is to the warehouse, whatever data is, in there from the last time it was refreshed will now be pulled into the model. And we also, so this is something that we deliver on the front end. So each of our Power Pivot models will have a slicers tab, it'll have a charts tab, it'll have a drill down tab, which is kind of like a already built pivot table, and then there'll be an ad hoc tab where it's a blank canvas pivot table. We'll walk through that in a second. Let's take a look at this pivot table. In this case, we've got a sample pivot table with extended amount, gross profit, and percent. We've got product group, subgroup, drill into a subgroup. We get down to a product. Maybe we go down here, get all the way down to, say, a customer. Well, what if you wanted that customer to be as your first level of your pivot table? You can just drag that up, and now you'll notice that customer is now at the top. And if we go in and just collapse those fields, now we've got, in essence, customer as our top level, and then we've got the different, product group. So if you've done pivot tables and work with pivot tables, the beauty of this solution is that you're kind of automating all of that. You're not building a pivot table from a static set of data that was either exported or imported or using macros to get data into a spreadsheet. The back-end engine is what's connecting to the data. So if I go back here to Power Pivot and do manage, this will actually bring us back in to the underlying, where we can actually create different sets of data that are then being related together behind the scenes here. So if I go in here and look at the diagram view, you can see here's where we're going in, and we're relating some data together that's applicable for the modeling that we're doing. Okay. So you can go ahead and look here at the connections. Just a little side note for Power Pivot. If you go into from other sources, these are the types of connections. So this is the back-end engine within Excel, and the beauty of this is that you get out of some of those limitations of a million rows or what have you, because we can pull in millions and millions of rows, model the data here, create those calculations behind the scenes, and then users can just drag and drop within the pivot tables and not have to worry about all that development. We can get here from Oracle, Teradata, DB2, SQL Server, OLEDB. So these are kind of just a variety of different sources to pull in. We also go in here and just give you a quick snapshot. We're kind of going in and doing calculations for year to date, quarter to date, month to date. Those type of time-based map calculations that are built from when a user chooses 2009 and period 1 in their slicers, it'll then calculate year to date based on whatever that slicer value that was been selected. Okay, so we looked at a pivot table, and one of the things like on the ad hoc side here, we'll go in and say, okay, I'm looking at a blank canvas now. Let's go ahead and say, in this case, we want to look at sales by product group. So if I go down here and say product group, and within each product group, I want to see sales by subgroup. And let's say that we want to look at maybe sales by channel. I can go here to my channel, drag that as a column, and let's go ahead and put some amounts in there. So if we want to go in here and say, let's look at our year-to-date extended amount, we can go ahead and select that, and now we can actually see those sales across our channels for our current year-to-date extended amount. So this is a real quick way to slice and dice the data, get those, and you just duplicate a tab just like you can in a spreadsheet. And all you have to do is just go data and hit refresh, and that'll basically go back and pull the data from the warehouse in this case, or in a direct connect, it would pull in from the transaction source. So this is a Power Pivot. Again, it is a free plugin from Microsoft Excel. It's included with 2013, works with 2010. That is the entry point, so you have to be at least on Office 2010 to leverage this functionality. Let's go ahead and just show you one other thing. Is there's also with 2013, which this does not exist in 2010, but 2013 was called Power View. I'll just kind of give a quick example of this. And what's nice about Power View is that you can build these from the Power Pivot modeling that's, you know, in this case against J.D. Edwards warehouse, and you build it. It's almost like a dashboard. So unlike a normal spreadsheet where you have cells and columns and rows, this is, let's look at this and just call this sales by state. Okay. So this is where you can kind of create those dashboard and do, you know, a pie chart and a bar chart. And we did more of this than we're going to do now when we did our Power Pivot webinar last week. But let's go ahead and just go up to, like, say, our sold to codes and grab, let's say, our mail state. I just drag that into my canvas over here. Okay. So I'll see state, and then let's go and just grab, let's say, our extended amount. So I go here and just say, let's pull extended amount into that. So now we've got this table. We could actually, you know, this nice table. It's automatically aggregating the data by state. If I go ahead and click on this and then go up here to choose map, it'll actually convert this into a nice map. Right. So now if we mouse over that, we can kind of see what the values were by each state. Let's say we wanted to see each of those circles actually be more like a pie chart breaking down, let's say, by product group. So we go here and choose, let's say, product group, and drag that down to our color here. All right, so now we can actually see within each state what the sales were by product group. We could have done city, what have you. If we want to add some dynamic filters, let's say we want to look at different sales reps, we'll go ahead and drag in sales rep here as well. So if I go down here and pull, you know, sales rep, and let's look at just a specific sales rep. Okay, maybe we also want to go back here and look at our channel. So now we can look at just a sales rep for, let's say, just retail, okay, or retail and online, okay, or we can go back and just pick them all. So this is Power View, which is really nice. It's a nice way to kind of build some of those dashboards, and they can be shared. And we're not getting into it today, but the deliverable of this, if you wanted to deploy this to users over the web, would be via Microsoft SharePoint. So if you actually implement SharePoint, this is a nice tool to be able to really deliver some great, very rich content from an analytics perspective to your users. So I want to show a blip of that, and then we'll go over and just show you a real quick example on the business object side. This one's going to be, you know, we're not going to get into much of the charting and analytics per se, but show a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and log in here as a CFO. Just open that up again. Okay, so we just have a few examples. These will be more, so we did sales and Power Pivot. We're just going to show a couple of financial examples, more from a reporting, management, operating statements, as well as the little bit of ad hoc. So that's what we're going to kind of show you a blip of here as well. So we take a look at, let's say, a balance sheet that we mapped over the warehouse. Go ahead, and this is one of our models that we deliver for Crystal reports. And part of the process is to define, you know, how you break down your different and classify your rows of your P&Ls and balance sheets. That's, you know, part of what we deliver as well. So in this case, we've got, you know, current assets. So we want to drill down on cash. We can go and drill into that. If there's multiple business units that made up that specific item, those would be listed there. Down to the true account, showing the object and subsidiary information. Let's drill into this Pride Creek. Again, our sample data is not the best here, but gives you an idea. This is now drilling down against the general ledger. So we're delivering from a data warehouse the summary information, a few different flavors of some of the fact tables around the summarized financial information to build income statements and balance sheets and trial balances, as well as models and fact tables around the general ledger, so we can then drill down from the summary and financials down to the GL transactions, as you just saw there. Let's take a look here as well. That was like a balance sheet flavor. If we go here to, let's say, an income statement and choose view latest instance on that. Okay. So this is, again, more of a, let's say, a traditional P&L. We've got quarter to date, year to date, actual and budget. If we look here at our parameters, we could actually switch this on the fly and change it by period and year to date, actual versus budget, or year over year. We're going to go ahead and leave it there for now. And this also, like the other, has different levels in it. So if we actually click on, this is the summarized or consolidated level, but if we go ahead and click on any one of these other levels, it'll give us kind of a consolidated view at each of those levels as well. So if we go back to the top, let's say we wanted to drill into this as well, we could go in and let's say take a look at, like salaries as an example, and we could see that broken down to, in this case, there's only one level. Drill into that, get a breakdown by the different departments or business units, and kind of keep drilling through. And you can drill all the way down, just like we did before, to the GL. Again, so that was starting from the consolidated level. We could also go in, let's say, and just take a look at accounting. Starting at this level as well, we can go in and say, let's take a look at maybe travel expenses. Drill into that, down to the GL transaction as well. All right, so back to, and then from there, again, if you have the content for the other modules, obviously anything that's on the general ledger would be here, but then you could actually drill into, and we did this in demonstration in our Direct Connect demo yesterday, to the underlying modules as well, like AP and purchasing and whatnot. So, so that was kind of just real quick some financial reports, nicely formatted reports that pretty much companies that are wanting to leverage BI and analysis for month-end reporting. These are very heavily used by our customer base. Then we also have, an ad hoc report. So we actually took another sample ad hoc report. I'm going to choose modify here, just to show you how you can do some, empower some users over the web to be able to do some drag and drop on their own within. And this is, as far, we're not going to get into depth, but it's a very powerful ad hoc. This is one of the the key strengths of the business objects solution is, in essence, in their ad hoc. So in this case, we've got a very simple report. It's looking at our business unit and then object account, year-to-date actual, budget, variance, and then a total year. You notice this one tab. So let's go ahead and if I just duplicate this report, it's like a separate tab that's there, and we can go in and say, let's say I want to, in this tab, see this by company, and then maybe a breakdown by business unit instead of business unit and object account. So if I go ahead and just drag our company, I can just drag that, drop it right on top. Now I'm going to get breakdown by company, and then if I go and grab the business unit, real quickly you'll see here we've got company and business unit, everything else. So that's the beauty of this type of ad hoc tool, is that it automatically aggregates the data for you, so you can very quickly get very meaningful information. But if I go ahead and just do an add report here, like if I was starting from a blank canvas, and from here you can also do new and basically build a new query from scratch. But for sake of time, we're just going to go ahead and show a real quick example here. So let's say that I'm starting from a blank canvas. If I go over here and just drag in, let's say company, I'll click on that, expand that, and then we can go in and pull, let's say, our year-to-date actual amount and our budget amount and our variance amount. Okay. So now we're looking at this. Let's say that we wanted to get rid of all these zero amounts. We go ahead and just take this whole block here, and I can choose a format table. Let's not show our measures with zero amounts. Get rid of some of those. We want to go ahead and take this and let's create some sums. Go to Analysis, Functions, choose Sum. Okay. And let's say we just wanted our top 5 business units per se. Or actually, let's go ahead and add business unit to it. So if I said I want business unit instead of company, I can just drag business unit into the mix. Okay. And now if we go back and bring in, let's say, our company, so we want company and business unit. Oops. I accidentally dragged it too far. Let me go ahead and just put this to the right. So now you can see we've got company and business unit. If I take a right click on this company, choose Set as a section, it'll actually create a grouping here on the company for us. When you do a section like that, you also get kind of a break in your report where you can then navigate through this to your different companies per se. Okay, so we've got this block of data. Let's go in here. Let's add maybe just our top 5 companies, or sorry, top 5 business units within each company. Add a ranking, top 5, year amount. Yep, looks good. So now we've got that. If we go ahead and copy this block of data, drag this to the right, we can go ahead here and turn this into maybe a column chart. Okay, so you can see here, we've got a column chart, or if we want to rather see that maybe as a pie chart, turn into pie chart. Okay. These are all the things that can be then deployed with business objects. And we did a short demo of this. These reports can be published and be viewed via an iPad on a mobile device as well. Any of these queries here can then be saved and then refreshed. And like I said, if you're interested in this, I definitely recommend you view we can do a one-on-one for your group, or view one of our recorded webinars on business objects. Just want to kind of give a quick feel, again, for a couple things. Now, if you wanted to get in and we're anticipating your, wear that technical hat on your head, we'd be happy to set up a one-on-one with you and get into more depth around the ETL process and, seeing the gears running behind the scenes of how data is actually moving and refreshing. But we're trying to not get into that level of technical detail in this session. Okay, so let's go back here. So we just did a quick recap of some Power Pivot business objects. We do have a data sheet we'd be happy to send you. Go ahead and just specify that in your survey result, or survey that you'd be prompted at the end of the session, and we'd be happy to send that along. If you are going to collaborate, we've got these 4 presentations at the conference. So on Tuesday, we're actually doing a similar session to this, a data warehousing, reporting, and BI, Tuesday at 4:15. Then we're doing a Microsoft Power Pivot, kind of Excel on steroids session on Wednesday. Then doing a BI Publisher session on Thursday at 3. And then the one that we're really excited about is Cliff Bar is going to do a demonstration. They're a customer of ours using the data warehouse, our data warehouse with the Power Pivot, and it's actually definitely a session. We're going to be at the show. Highly recommend you attend that one. You won't want to miss that one.